The moment this quiet Filipino man opened his mouth, the room froze. Simon Cowell leaned forward, the audience stopped breathing, and within seconds, disbelief turned into shock. You won't believe what happens next, so if you love unbelievable voices and emotional moments, hit subscribe now and stay with us until the end. Story script, plain paragraph narration. No one in the Dolby Theater that night expected history to be made by a man who walked onto the AGT Champions stage with calm eyes, humble posture, and a smile that carried both confidence and scars. He didn't look like a global superstar. He didn't carry the dramatic swagger of someone about to shake the world. He simply stood there, breathing deeply, as if grounding himself before stepping into a storm. His name was introduced, the crowd clapped politely, and Simon Cowell glanced down at his notes with the familiar expression of someone who has seen it all. But what no one knew was that this man carried not just a voice but an entire nation's dreams in his chest. He grew up in the Philippines, in a place where power outages were normal and dreams were often whispered quietly so disappointment wouldn't hear them. Music was not a luxury for him, it was survival. As a child, he sang while walking dusty roads, while helping his family, while imagining a future bigger than his surroundings. He learned early that his voice was different, but he also learned that being different can be dangerous when the world doesn't understand you. People laughed when he switched voices mid-song. Some thought it was a trick. Others thought it was strange. But he knew it was his gift. Years later, that same gift had carried him across oceans, onto stages he once saw only on borrowed television screens. Yet standing on AGT Champions was different. This wasn't just another performance. This was the stage where the best of the best returned, where legends were tested again, where judges were tougher, expectations higher, and failure louder. He felt the weight of that as he listened to the judges greet him. Simon's tone was polite but cautious. "How are you going to top what people already know about you?" Simon asked, not unkindly, but honestly. The singer smiled and said softly that he would just sing from the heart. The music began gently. A familiar melody filled the theater, and people relaxed, thinking they knew what was coming. His first voice flowed smoothly, rich and emotional, drawing nods from the judges. It was good, very good, but AGT Champions demanded more than good. Then, without warning, the moment arrived. He shifted voices in a way that felt impossible. Gasps rippled through the crowd like electricity. Heads snapped up. Phones dropped. Simon Cowell's eyebrows shot up as if his face had forgotten how to remain neutral. The sound was no longer just impressive. It was unreal. Two voices, one body, perfectly controlled, perfectly timed. It felt like watching a miracle happen in real time. The audience erupted, but the singer did not stop. He pushed forward, weaving emotion into technique, pain into power. He wasn't just singing notes. He was telling a story of struggle, of identity, of being underestimated and surviving anyway. Halfway through the performance, something unexpected happened. The music softened again, almost fragile, and for a brief moment, the room felt suspended in silence. In that silence, memories flooded his mind. The nights he slept hungry. The people who told him to choose one voice, to be normal, to stop dreaming. The moments he almost gave up. Those memories didn't weaken him. They sharpened him. When he sang again, the sound carried a rawness that hit straight in the chest. The camera cut to the judges. Heidi Klum had tears in her eyes. Howie Mandel was shaking his head in disbelief. Simon Cowell was no longer leaning back in his chair. He was leaning forward, fully engaged, his skepticism replaced by something rare for him, wonder. As the final note approached, the singer did something no one expected. He blended both voices into a harmony so seamless it felt like the laws of sound had been rewritten. The note hung in the air, powerful and pure, before fading into silence. For half a second, there was nothing. Then the entire theater exploded. The audience jumped to their feet, screaming, clapping, some crying openly. And then it happened. Simon Cowell stood up. Not slowly. Not reluctantly. He stood up immediately, clapping above his head. That single action sent shockwaves through the crowd. Simon Cowell standing up was not just approval. It was acknowledgement. It was history. The singer stood frozen for a moment, overwhelmed. He hadn't expected that. He bowed his head, trying to hold back tears, but emotion poured through him anyway. He wasn't just receiving applause for himself. He was receiving it for every Filipino who had ever been told they were too small to matter on a global stage. When the judges spoke, their words barely kept up with their emotions. Heidi told him she felt like she had witnessed something supernatural. Howie said he had seen many acts, but none like this. Then Simon spoke. He admitted that he had been skeptical, that he wondered if the world had already seen everything this singer could do. But tonight, Simon said, "You proved me wrong. Tonight, you reminded me why this show exists." But the biggest twist came after the praise. Simon paused, looked directly at him, and said something unexpected. He said that moments like this don't come often, and when they do, they change the direction of a competition. The audience roared again, sensing what that meant. This wasn't just a great performance. This was a turning point. Backstage, as the singer walked off the stage, he finally allowed himself to cry. Not tears of sadness, but of release. Years of doubt poured out in that moment. Crew members hugged him. Other contestants stared at him with respect, some with fear, knowing the bar had just been raised impossibly high. The video of his performance spread across the internet within hours. In the Philippines, families gathered around phones and televisions, cheering, crying, replaying the moment Simon Cowell stood up again and again. In the United States, viewers who had never heard of him before searched his name, stunned that such a voice existed. Reaction videos flooded YouTube. Musicians tried to analyze how it was even possible. Vocal coaches paused frames, rewound notes, and still couldn't fully explain it. But fame is never just celebration. With viral success came pressure. Expectations skyrocketed. Some critics said he had already shown his best. Others doubted he could repeat such magic. He felt that pressure deeply, but instead of letting it crush him, he returned to the same place he always had, his roots. He called his family. He prayed. He reminded himself why he sang in the first place. When he returned to the stage later in the competition, he didn't try to outdo himself with tricks. Instead, he chose honesty. He sang a song that spoke of home, of distance, of sacrifice. And once again, the audience felt it. Not because it was louder or flashier, but because it was real. Win or lose, his impact was already sealed. He had changed how people saw vocal ability. He had shown that greatness doesn't always come wrapped in confidence and bravado. Sometimes it walks quietly onto a stage, takes a breath, and lets the soul speak. By the end of AGT Champions, one thing was undeniable. This Filipino singer didn't just impress Simon Cowell. He reminded the world that talent has no borders, that dreams can rise from anywhere, and that one voice, or in his case, two, can shake the world.